Welcome back to Illiana Stock Car Radio, episode 73, and I guess this will be 73 part 1. Not really sure.
That's how the producer has it labeled in the script, so we'll go with it.
Yeah, so I don't know if we'll keep
our section 1 of a 4-part episode, if we want to call it 4 episodes, or a 4-part really long episode for everybody that wants to bear with us.
Yeah, exactly. How we break
Especially because we're trying new technology again.
Yeah, so I think this will pretty much cover the entire spectrum that we've got going on here this year. So we've done in studio, we've done on location, and now we're doing digital plus
audio. And talking heads again.
Yeah, talking heads plus audio only interview with some technology stuff. So I think this should pretty much cover the entire gamut that we've had going on this season.
Until we start scribbling these down by hand and publishing to a newspaper, I think we're all right.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I know I don't have the penmanship for that, so I think we will be all right. But yeah, so like we mentioned, this is first of a series of shows we're going to be doing because, Chris, it's April, and
it is.
Not only do April showers bring May flowers, April
also
brings race cars and race season, and we've got a series of tracks here locally that we want to go ahead and highlight and preview and let everybody know what's going on, and this episode is the first of doing that.
Right. We had our I don't really want to call him a volunteer. He was kind of voluntold, but he's never been on the show before, so his rookie lap. Is rookie lap a thing? I don't know.
It is now. After this show, he can take the rookie stripes off the rear bumper.
There you go.
Let's call it there. So yeah, like you said, this first track, first time we've really covered this track here on the show. First time guest to the show. So we are talking this week on this show with Billy Nippenberg Jr., the second-year promoter of the Kankakee County Speedway. Their season was supposed to kick off this Friday. But
back to that April shower stuff.
Yeah, we've had a lot of that going on, and he'll talk about that here in just a little bit once we go to that interview. But a lot going on over there at the Kankakee County Speedway. A lot of excitement over there, and really looks like he's going to be doing some pretty cool things.
Oh yeah, I'm. I'll admit it. I have never been to Kankakee. Brian, I know, has been there a couple times. It's always been on my list, but then I keep getting contractually obligated to be at other tracks during the season. Because, when Illiana closed, Dad and I had this big plan of going and visiting as many racetracks as we possibly could. And then we ended up going to Grundy and South Bend and Shady Hill and now Plymouth.
Yeah.
But we got jobs at all those places too.
Yep. Yeah. You definitely do have some of that. That does crop up every now and then. So, for those that don't know, the Clay Mile over there, it's a quarter mile. Kankakee County Speedway, long, rich history, local racing dating back to the 40s. So she's been around a while. Interesting story that Billy has with the Kankakee County Speedway. So we really look forward to hearing that story and previewing the racing season out there. So I don't really think they need to hear us talk anymore about it.
That's an intro.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So
let's roll the foot. Wait, let's call them up.
Yeah, roll that beautiful Kankakee County audio footage. So
with some pictures that I pulled out of the archive.
Yes, so brought to you by Goodacre Photography right there. But yeah, here it is. Hope you enjoy it. Our interview with Billy Nippenberg Jr., the Kankakee County Speedway. And with us today on this episode, Billy Nippenberg Jr., former full-time racer, turned full-time track promoter, driver of the 01, at least most of the career, whether asphalt, dirt. Now in the second year of promoting the Kankakee County Speedway. Billy, welcome to the show.
All right. Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, Billy, you've driven all types of circle track cars, and obviously your family a big into the local racing scene. I think that's kind of where we want to start with you here as far as Chicagoland racing scene. So, why don't you give our listeners out there a little bit of a history about yourself and your family there.
Obviously I was born in the racing. My dad raced before I was even born, and So when I was little, we raced at, my dad raced at Santa Fe Speedway a lot of nights a year. It was 2 nights a year. 2 nights every weekend. Friday, Saturdays, Friday night at Kankakee, Saturday night at Santa Fe, Sunday night at Santa Fe, and then maybe somewhere else in between. Racing was like a full-time thing back then. So kind of, was a part of, my dad's racing till I turned 15, and he said, "Hey, do you want to race?" And I actually raced in 1990. I was Rookie of the Year at Kankakee County Speedway, and ran dirt for 6 years, then switched over to pavement, ran asphalt quite a few years there, 20-something years. Won 5 championships on the pavement, and then moved back to the dirt racing in 2019, and been doing that. In 2021, I ended up winning 2 track championships, one at Kankakee and one at Shady Hill, and I won the Dirt Car East Region championship that year. And then I found out that Kankakee wasn't going to reopen, so I decided to step in and try to keep it going.
Yeah, definitely admirable task. So a couple questions, for you along those lines. First, what's that like? So the track you kind of got your start at, now kind of that full circle feeling. Now you're promoting that track now.
Well, I don't know. I will tell you this, as somebody that's raced for 33 years, it's way harder than I thought it would be. I'd have to say I want to take back a lot of comments and a lot of things I've said over the last 33 years about promoters and how they should do things. And I definitely have a whole different, there's a whole different meaning to this, once you have done it, once you've sat in that seat. You become a guy that doesn't do anything right in people's eyes, really, but I did it for the love of the sport. When a racetrack disappears, when it closes, I've seen this so many times over the years. You got a lot of racers that run at that track, and then all of a sudden those racers, over the course of the next year or 2, maybe 3 years, they end up quitting because they end up going and traveling maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours away to race somewhere else. And pretty soon they realize that their friends, their family, their sponsors, they're not going to travel that far to watch them. And the fun is kind of taken out of it. So they end up just quitting, and then they never race again. So, but yeah, it's kind of a bad thing when you see a racetrack close.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, we've all kind of seen that here around this region with several of them closing. Obviously, being a driver and now into the promoter role, what from the driver's seat can you kind of take with you or from that experience? And when you put your promoter's hat on, how does that maybe translate, or how does it help kind of give just a whole picture of different perspectives?
So I would have to say that me as a promoter now, what I try to do is I look at the racetrack and in the eyes of a racer, because I am a racer. And with that being said, what I try to do is I want it to be a fair place to race at. So I'm very big on, the teching of the cars. I get involved with it myself. I've hired multiple tech people to help. The first thing I did is I bought transponders for the cars, because prior to that, the place had a pill draw, and racers always got in the back of their mind that maybe there could be some funny business with the pill draw. So we went to hot lap qualifying, so people start where they belong. instead of maybe having a car that's 2 or 3 seconds off the pace starting on the pole, and and a fast car starting in the second or third row and getting jammed up and getting tore up. So very big on fair racing. I'm very, very big on safety. As a racer, I've seen people injured, hurt over the time. So one of the first things I did, last year was look at safety, look at things that maybe I didn't look at it as a driver. And I noticed things. It was kind of weird. I was like, man, I can't believe this is this way. I mean, I could have killed myself out here, So, my big thing is, as a promoter, slash racer, I still race, is to make sure that the racer is happy first. And then, with that, I'm seeing car counts growing. And, my goal when I took this over is to, I want to fill the grandstand somehow. I do, but I do believe we got to put on a great show to fill the grandstand. So if you make the racers happy, they're going to come. The more cars that come, the better show it's going to be. And, if the cars are all running legally, the race is much closer. Races are much better. There's a lot that goes into the track prep to make it more racy. And I focus on that. We change something up every week, try something different. Not going to lie, sometimes it gets away from you, but it does make the racing more interesting, and it's not like somebody's just kind of running away with it. We're really big on trying to keep good side-by-side racing for the fan.
Yeah, I definitely feel like kind of every little bit of the elements you touched in there kind of go hand in hand. Obviously you want to put on a good product, get fans in the stands, and make sure you got good, competitive, safe racing to draw more people in. So definitely all goes hand in hand. Like we mentioned, this is your second season as the promoter out there. So let's touch on 2022 just a little bit. Got here in my notes, if what I saw, we dealt with, some rainwater management issues out there. Kind of talk about maybe some of those issues you faced last year, and then what did you learn in that first campaign as a promoter that maybe you're applying to this season?
So I took over late, so we weren't able to start early last year, so we had to start late. And ironically, when we got started there, it just couldn't catch a break with the weather. The rain just kept coming in. Every Friday, for some reason, it rained every Friday. And I actually was able to see some notes from other Friday night racetracks across the state. They kind of seen the same thing. Most rainouts happened in our region on Friday nights last year. So the rain obviously was always coming on Friday nights. I can't say that, honestly. I mean, I guess I'm probably going to have to say that I was probably lucky. All my rainouts were legit. There was no way that we could have got them programs in. So I made the right decisions last year, but I'm not going to say it's because I'm know what I'm doing. It is probably one of the toughest things you got to do is know when to call it. So I mean that was a tough year. We were only able to get 10 races in last year, but there was only 15 on the schedule. This year we have 23 on the schedule, hoping to get more in, because we know we're going to have rainouts, and here we already had to have one. As far as everything else, I mean, I learned a lot last year. We made a lot of mistakes, and we're just trying to grow. Every time we make a mistake and we know it's a mistake, we just try to learn from it and move on. We've got some different technology that we're looking at this year, and to try to get better than last year. And first year with the transponders was a little bit hectic because nobody had done it before, including myself. So all of us had to learn, and I was very fortunate that my son was able to set his race career aside for 3 weeks to jump in, because he's just naturally talented with computers and technology. So he kind of strong-armed that and got it going for us, and then taught the rest of the people to learn that. Christine Rogers is our lead scorer, and he was able to teach her how to do it, and then she was able to teach the next person, and so on.
Yeah, and that's great to have that resource, especially when you're, rolling out a new program or some new technology, to be able to have people there that can, maybe make that learning curve a little less steep. So now 2022, though, is in the rearview mirror, and like you said, kind of all hands looking forward to 2023. You kind of mentioned already having one rain out on the schedule, unfortunately, with all this rain we've had here lately. Kind of let's preview a little bit of 2023, starting with around the Speedway, when drivers and fans alike come through the gates. What new are they going to see, or what's going to stand out to them?
So the first thing we did is last year, I had an incredible 3 weeks leading up to the season with getting a lot of local sponsors to come aboard last year. But the problem I had was the lack of time to make it look as professional as it should have been and what they deserved. So we have the whole back straightaway now is billboards, and it's a very nice, clean look. So we did put the emphasis into that. The grandstands, we repaired a bunch of the bleachers that were in bad shape last year, and we added some little better features. It was a very high step to get into the bleachers, so we cut steps in so that people can get up there. We had a lot of elderly people told me that they were having a hard time getting up and down the grandstands. And short people alike, if you got short legs, it's hard to lift your leg that high. So we definitely, listen to what people say and try to do what we can, within the means of, financial basis, what we can do and what we can't do. And then we ended up adding a scoreboard. So we got scoreboard. It's up and working. We were able to actually get it tested out last weekend. So that's something that we had a scoreboard last year, but it barely worked. And I think about 3 or 4 weeks in, we finally just gave up on it. We couldn't get it to work some more. So when you're at a racetrack, you're accustomed to having a scoreboard and it don't work, and you constantly hear about, well, why is that scoreboard not work? So,
right.
So we went above and beyond and got that done. We are currently, if the weather would behave a little bit, last year we put a wall up in turns 1 and 2. The track hadn't had a wall up there actually ever. They used to have a guardrail many, many years ago. But it's been wall-less for, I don't know, at least the last 20 years in turns 1 and 2. I felt it was a safety issue. So we got a wall up last year, late in the season. But this year we put in we were able to get a bunch of telephone poles donated, and we got the safety cables up, and we're getting ready to get the fencing up there, so that then our people that are in the pits can actually watch the race from the turns. Really hoping to have that done by opening night, or maybe in the next 2 days it can dry back out and we can get out there and maybe get that done. But that's about the extent of what's different from this year than last year as far as the facility-wise racetrack. As far as scheduling, like I said, we got 23 nights on the schedule. Every single night is a special race. That is something that I did do different. I don't like calling a night a regular night, so I put a lot of emphasis into every single week has a special of some sort. And we joined in as a promoter last year. I realized something that really did bother me, that we didn't have kids there really wasn't a whole lot of kids to attend the races last year. So this year we are letting 11 and under for free into the grandstands. Last year, I think it was 5 and under free. And then there was a charge for like $5. This year we decided to just go 11 and under for free to try to get more younger people into the grandstands. And then we also have a program that we started for kids. There's kids nights that are going to happen. I want to say we have 5 or 6 of them. Lucinda Steinke's in charge of that, her and Linnea. They have just put this together. We're having a big wheel night, big wheel races, power wheel races. There's just like a kids night with just random stuff that they're doing. There's a candy drop. There's a bicycle giveaway night. There's probably, I think there's a bicycle decoration night. So there's a lot of cool things for the kids this year.
Yeah, which is awesome because, kids are the future of the sport. If they're not showing up to the races, then the future's not as bright as we need it to be. So extra emphasis on the kids is always a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's that is definitely something that blew my mind. That it was extremely small amount of children going into the grandstands. I do believe that there is, because we do allow children in the pits. I do think that we do get a decent amount of them up there, and in the backside. But I back when I was a kid, the grandstands would be packed, and there was a lot of kids there. It's just not that way anymore.
Sure. Also look into, what those kids might see on track. You got a lot of divisions, classes that are going to be out there, pro late models, pro modifieds, regular modified, sport compacts, stock cars, stock 4-cylinder, fast race stocks. And then the Crown Victoria class looks like is blowing up throughout the region.
Yeah, no, it's something that I wanted to try. I've got some other ideas for the future, but I really believe in the Crown Vic thing. It is growing really big, really rapidly. I believe in it so much that I bought 15 cars myself. We've now built 3 of them race ready, and we just keep building. We keep building them one at a time, just trying to we want to help grow the class and help get it big. My emphasis is on cheap racing. Last year I started the stock division, which was a stock 4-cylinder division, and we intertwined it with the sport compacts because it seemed like the car count was really dwindling on the sport compact. So we just is all about, to me, is about cheap racing. That class has a $3,500 claim rule on it. Probably in the future we'll do something similar, probably a little bit more money on the Crown Vic, just to keep the cost down. But we're all about, pretty much just a stock car based on safety. But the key is just, my goal is $5,000 or less and go racing.
Right, which is a great, kind of great entry point. When you look at most classes, you really can't get started for that.
No, I mean, even that sport compact class, I did a lot of research on that. And, if you want to be very competitive in that, you're going to spend quite a bit of money. You're probably spending, probably $15,000, between $10,000 and $15,000 to be really competitive in it. And, you a younger kid that, maybe fresh out of high school or maybe even in high school, how are they going to afford that unless their parents got a little money or something? But, ultimately our goal here is to get it to where, somebody comes to the races, they watch racing and they go, man, I'd love to try that. Well, in the past, if they want to try that and they find out that, well, they better spend at least $15,000, and then they got to get a trailer, and then you got to go buy your safety equipment. And, you might be spending, $20,000 to go try it, to even see if you like it. So our goal is to try to get that back to where it needs to be, where there's some more affordable racing, and then they go out there and they're having a good time, and maybe they find a sponsor or somebody else, wants to help them go a little bit further in their racing career, and maybe they can then jump up to that next division, and have the money to spend. But it's tough to do that when you don't even know if you're cut out for it or not, because it's not for everybody.
Right. Yeah. No, that's for sure. And I think the other part of that equation is making sure you keep the costs down, to get in, and then once they're in and racing, making sure that they leave with an appropriate maybe amount of money as far as like a weekly payout, which I know you guys have really went to work on as well.
Yeah, last year I stared at that. It was really weak, and I knew that as a racer because I raced there. I did bump that up quite a bit. I went down the path of, chasing sponsor dollars, because that's the only way you can really increase purses right now, unless we can start getting way more fans in the grandstands. So I went after it hard last year, and again this year even harder. And I take every penny of that money and I give it back to the racers between point fund and purses. And but the problem is what people don't realize is when you say you get $50,000 in sponsor money and you spread that out over the course of 20 nights, it doesn't go far. When you got 6 divisions, 7 divisions, it's really hard to break that up. It's you're staring at $20 or $30 a position or something, if you're lucky. So it's definitely very tough to make these purses really big like the racers would want them to. But I just keep trying and I keep asking, and and I do believe that it's getting better, and my with that is when you get a sponsor, you got to make them happy, and I don't want it to be just, oh, hey, we put your sign up, So, I brought in a guy this year, this off season, and he asked me, what can I do now? And I said, well, why don't we give, our drivers some shout outs, and let's start working on our sponsors, and just every week, every day, just throw a few of them out there, thanking them for what they do. And, we've got 14,000 followers on our page, and it's growing daily. So it's, the word's getting out of what we're doing, and I think the sponsors are appreciating that. It's the best thing I can do is the free form of advertising, and we're getting it out to as many people as we can. And I always reach out to, every week in my drivers meetings, I ask every one of my drivers, please, when you see these posts, share them. If you like racing, if I was going to give people a bit of advice, if you like racing, every racetrack, I don't care if it's Kankakee or Shady Hill or Grundy County or wherever you race or wherever you like to watch racing, if you see, your tracks posting something, share it. Just get the awareness out there that, hey, there's races going on, and keep local short track racing alive.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great piece of advice, because I can't tell you how many times when Illiana was still open, you'd get into a conversation with somebody and they'd say, oh, that track's still there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're doing something with a local school that's doing some photography, and they were out at the track this week, and there was 5 younger teenagers, or maybe early 20s, that were there. And I asked them all, have you ever been here? And none of them had, and they were all within 15 miles of the place, so it's the awareness is just not there. But there really isn't the money in these things in today's day and age to just go spend money in advertising. We can't put it on, like on national television, which brings me to my next point. We did start something this season, and it's we have a thing called Speed Talk TV, and there's a link on our website. So all of our races are going to be streamed live. So it'll be a live feed, or also you can buy a taped version of as well. And I did that because I feel like that's another avenue for our sponsors to get their names out there more, my driver sponsors, to get their names more recognition, to keep this thing alive.
Yeah, that's a great platform as somebody that kind of works with the team and has a lot of sponsors as well, to be able to give them a link to share that they can watch their car go around the track, just kind of get them excited and just keep that engagement up is I think a great thing.
Yeah, because a lot of times the sponsors can't make it to the racetrack. They've got lives. They see maybe the need for the advertising, but maybe they just in their life they're just way too busy and they just can't go. But if they could actually just go on their phone and click a link and put a credit card number in there, we're even offering a package, like a monthly package. Hey, 8 o'clock on Friday night, let's go see how my car I sponsored is doing. And that's the big thing is over the years of racing, I had a lot of sponsors over the years that never made it to the racetrack ever.
Right.
And to me, that was the worst case scenario, because you wouldn't keep them as a sponsor for a real long time because they didn't see the results from it. That's the problem with advertising. Sometimes you really don't know what you're getting out of it. It's, if your business is doing really good, you're like, yeah, I got to keep advertising. But sometimes when your business takes a swing the other way and it's not doing good, well, then they want to point it at the advertising isn't doing good. So, but if they like it and they see what's happening, if they see their car out there and win a race, well, even if it's from watching from their phone, the excitement level is going to be so much better. It's going to keep them more engaged in it. So I'm hoping that will bring racing back at that level. I've not been a huge supporter of streaming in the past because I feel like racetracks don't get enough for that. But the process that I'm doing and with the company that I'm engaged with, he is on the same page as me, and he's doing everything he can to help this be a much better thing for the racetracks. And so I'm working with him on the ground level, and he listens to my ideas, and I listen to his ideas, and we're gonna try to make this a better thing.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a great partnership. Definitely a great thing for people to be able to see the races, and they're going to have plenty of opportunities looking at the schedule coming up this year. You already mentioned it a little while ago. Unfortunately, already met with your first rain out, as you guys were scheduled to open on the 7th with the Lee Hall Memorial, but unfortunately, that's going to be pushed back.
Yeah, it was for multiple reasons, and actually. Hindsight of it again, I don't know if it's pure luck or whatever, but I looked at the forecast and I saw 3 days of rain, and Monday we didn't get a whole lot of rain, but Tuesday and yesterday, Tuesday and today we got a lot of rain. And I had rescheduled a practice for this coming Saturday, and I think that's even going to be a challenge now. We got several inches of rain out there at the Speedway again, on top of what we had gotten the prior week. I'm still going to try and push hard to try to get this practice in. I think that's so important. That's the other reason why I canceled is I think it's so important that we have a practice before opening night for multiple reasons. One, we have a lot of new drivers that never even raced before that, they need it. Also, the drivers, if they don't have the means to travel, a couple hours away to test their cars, because there was some practices this past weekend, it could be, first night blues because they had something not hold together or they didn't get it put together just quite right. So practice is always so important to get that in. And then the next thing that I like about it is it's practice for me. track prep is really tough at this time of the year for dirt tracks. You get all this moisture in the ground all winter long, and then you got these early spring with all this rain. And if you have a practice and get cars on the track and maybe the track gets a little too rough, now you can work with it where where the bad area is and start tweaking it so that way the first race night maybe isn't as bad. So that's it. That's the main purpose for trying to get this practice in. And so we're going to push hard to get that in Saturday. And if all fails, we can't get that in Saturday, I'll probably have a Monday night practice or something. Would love to have had a Sunday, but it's Easter, so I can't do it on Easter. So, we're going to get that in. Looks like this next week we got some great weather coming in. It's going to be as high as 80 degrees. And as of right now, the extended forecast looks really good for next Friday. So, I think it's all working out. I've had a lot of no-sayers saying, "Man, you should have never started this early." But I've been racing a lot of years, and I have seen a lot of races myself and raced a lot of races this early in the past. So like I said, if you had 5 rainouts last year, it's probably a good chance I'll get 5 rainouts or more this year. But if we get a couple in April and we get a couple in May, and maybe the rest of the summer's dry, we might have a good long season.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to catch them early. But, just kind of looking at this schedule, a couple things that stick out to me. You got the Badger Midgets coming through on May 5th. June 9th, you got the Bill Davis Memorial. It's $2,000 to win for modifieds. June 15th, you got the UMP Summer Nationals coming through. $5,000 to win for the late models. The Mid-Am Series, we talked to those guys just a couple weeks ago. They were looking forward to coming out to the dirt. Vintage Racing on August 25th. And then, of course, your season championship night. Everything wraps up September 22nd. So, looking at the schedule, like you said, you've got special nights, special events every week. Anything sticks out to you that you're looking forward to seeing this year, or kind of seeing how it all plays out?
Well, actually, you touched on a lot of it. I am really excited about the Mid-American Stock Car Series coming to Kankakee this year. I've got a very, very close relationship with Tim and Chuck Uris, and they. I reached out to them last year and I said, "Hey, I think might be a good idea to maybe put one, hand in hand with Sycamore Speedway." And I said, because we're fairly close, and do a dirt car swing, and they approached me this winter, and we went with it, and I think we got it's like $2,000 to win or something like that for that event. It's pretty neat if you've not seen the asphalt cars on dirt. They put on a really good show, and they put some added money up for this thing. And I think they'll get a pretty good car turnout. Another thing you did touch on that I'm excited to see, because I'm not going to say that I'm a huge supporter of it, because I've always been a stock car guy, but we're bringing open wheels to Kankakee. We're bringing midgets there in May, and we've got some throwback sprint cars a couple nights, and then we have a non-wing sprint car show there this season as well. So it's been every bit of probably 10 years since midgets or sprint cars have been at Kankakee. So that's something new that we're bringing back this year.
Yeah, I know that's always interesting to see. Something I've always enjoyed watching is either sprint carts, midgets. They're on dirt. Just it's a wild show to watch.
Yeah, they definitely put on a pretty good race. Our track is a pretty, it's a I call it a big quarter mile. It's the right size for them cars, and I brought one out last year to do a little testing on a Friday night during race night. Unfortunately, the track was pretty rough that night, but I'll tell you what, a lot of fans and a lot of different people come up to me and said at the end of the night, "Hey, when are you bringing them here? We'd like to see that." I said, "Well, it isn't this year, but next year it's my goal is to get them back to Kankakee." And, and this off season, I worked hard at that, and, hoping that we can continue that and maybe even do a little bit more in the future.
Sure. Looking at the schedule, a couple things also stand out to me that I'm interested to know more about. I see non-winners races kind of peppered throughout the schedule. Can you explain a little bit more about what those are going to be?
So what the non-winners races are is I've had this theory for the longest time. When we go to these race tracks, it doesn't matter what division you're in. It's tough. You can start at the bottom, a Crown Vic or a four-cylinder, it doesn't matter what division you're in. It's really hard to win a race. You just have serious competitors in all the divisions. And so a lot of times, you go to a track and you watch for the whole season. If there's 15 nights, you might only have 5 different winners. Sometimes you might have a little bit more than that. So my theory is that you get racers that never win a race. They go racing for 5 years, never win a race. Well, I find that really hard to fathom how that must feel. I've always been a fierce competitor, never been the dominant person, but I always find a way to win a race at least a year, So to me, I thought if I come up with a program that allows, we're putting a bunch of cars in each division into a race that's a non-winners race, then they're going to get a checkered flag, they're going to get a picture, and then they, will have a trophy that they get for that race. That picture will be on their wall forever. Hey, I won a race. I don't think they're going to be easy to win by no means, because there's some really good racers in all those divisions that haven't ever won a race. And a lot of us have been saying, I think, I think this person's going to win or this person's going to win, and it's going to happen because, there are people that are finishing, second, third, fourth, fifth place every week anyway. They just haven't got that edge to win yet. So my son actually, BK3 helped me put together, and he gave me another idea and I went with it. I thought it was kind of brilliant. And what we did was we put whoever wins that race on that night will start on the pole of the feature for that night. So that's just one little added thing that now they got another good chance that maybe they could, if that little luck goes their way and their car's good on that night, they might be able to win a race. So, and then I told my story and what I wanted to do there to All-Star Performance, and they came aboard to help sponsor it. So it's sponsored by All-Star Performance, and they were pretty ecstatic about it. They pretty much, when you see All-Star sponsoring something, it's always a Fast Time Award or something, or a Hard Charger Award. And I approached it. I was like, I don't know how you feel about this, and they said, I actually really like it. I like where you're going with it. So we're excited to be teamed up with them on it. Every night that we have that per that division, that's the same night that we have a special event for that division. And so, for instance, this coming one on the 14th is the Pro Late Models. And so it's non-winners night, but then it's also 1,000 to win race for the Pro Late Models special. And we haven't made up the how many laps and all that stuff yet for this coming one, because we got to think about, we have that Lee Hall Memorial race coming with that's paying $5,090 to win. We don't know if that's going to bring 25 cars or if it's going to bring 100 cars. I have no idea what's going to come for that. So.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome concept with the non-winners race. As someone who probably would have been in those races, I think it's a great concept. And you mentioned All-Star Performance, which kind of leads me into my last thing here for you tonight. We give everybody that comes on the show a chance to, thank their partners, thank their crews. And obviously, you're one person. You're not doing this job alone out there at the Kankakee County Speedway. So, just talk about some of the partners you've got and some of the people that have helped you along the way throughout this process.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'd have to talk about my help and my family, my wife Brenda, and my son Billy. Honestly, I don't think this was their favorite idea. But along the way, they've stepped up and helped me. My dad has been a huge supporter of everything I've done, and he has done a lot to help me with this. He's given me a lot of equipment to use and stuff. Definitely couldn't have done it without him. It's so tough for me to name people and to name sponsors. I'm going to touch on it, but I also got to say that I don't want people to feel that they got left out, because there's just so many people that do this, and honestly, it's so hard because people get offended. But Rick and Lucinda Steinke have done. I can't even explain. I wouldn't even be where I'm at for them to. Scott Glassford is another one that's done a lot. He's the head of my security, but he's more than that. He was there today with me, helping me stock coolers and things like that. And he's carpenter by trade, so he can do a lot of things. So he's done a lot. And Matt Prodell's my track prep guy, and he's in it. He makes a set amount a day, but he might work 16 hours on that day if need be. The list just can go on and on and on of the people that that are a big part of this, and sponsors. It's a really big list. It's huge. I'll touch on a few of our larger ones. Taylor Dodge, Taylor Ford, Big Rigs Oil Pros, Romar Transportation, Big Daddy Scrap, Meineke of Bourbonnais. You got the Amsoil, First Place Oils, Jody, Three Sons Auto, Salvage, CR Towing, Belson Scrap. You got, like I said, I'm probably leaving out so many, and I'll apologize ahead of time. The list is so big, and we wouldn't be where we're at without all these people that have stepped up and all these sponsors that have stepped up. It's just, we are really blessed to have a great racing family, racing community that wanted to see this place stay alive. And last year, I just can't explain how much I saw a community come together to make this place happen, and it's continuing to do so this season, and it's going to be a much bigger and better way, I think. So.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like there's a lot of excitement surrounding the season, and a lot of great things on the schedule to look forward to here starting, as early as maybe this week with some practicing, and then next week, hopefully the weather holds out and we get some racing in. So, Billy, I want to thank you for your time popping in for this episode, kind of talking to us about the Kankakee County Speedway and everything you got going on this year.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yep, and we look forward to maybe seeing you at the track this year.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. And that was our interview with Billy Nippenberg Jr., promoter at the Kankakee County Speedway. And Chris, kind of a cool full circle story to have your rookie season at the Kankakee County Speedway, and then
your rookie promoter season.
And then your rookie promoter season there. Definitely full story. Cool story to hear.
Yeah, and you know what? He touched on some interesting stuff there about, being behind the wheel and also behind the desk. Gives you a new perspective on both ends. And, I was really kind of taken aback when he said, you know, he's there's a lot of stuff that he said to the promoter in his career that now he on the other end, it's like, wow, yeah, that wasn't cool. So just you know, him taking a step back, I guess, and acknowledging that, yeah, promoting's a lot harder than it looks from the driver's seat. That's really cool, and I hope other drivers, I guess, take some initiative there. And you know, everybody's after the same thing. We're just trying to put on a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, you know, you, myself, every other racer that's been out there, we've questioned promoters' decisions, and you know, well, why don't they do things this way, or why don't they do things that way? And I think that's cool perspective that he has. That like, wow, this really isn't as easy as maybe I thought it was going to be, or thought it should be. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it. So that's definitely kind of a cool perspective, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then, you know, especially some of the other things that he's doing out there as well. So I mean, as a competitor, he knows some of the struggles that guys go through, where, you know, the rumblings in the pits about, well, is this car legal, is that car legal, you know, they have this, they have that. So you know, what he's doing from a tech and a rules standpoint, and then also you know, from a financial standpoint, trying to make it lucrative to get guys cars out of their garage.
And above and beyond that, you know, he talked about the sponsorship being, you know, you get these sponsors, and you're lucky to get the sponsors, but then they never show up to the racetrack, and you end up not having that sponsor the next year because, well, what's my advertising dollar getting me? This would be a good S4 plug spot right here.
I know, right?
But yeah, it's, you know, that's the biggest thing. I think it's definitely not going to be an easy ask, but the best way to preserve racing is to get people to the racetrack.
For sure, 100%.
And you know, everybody watching, everybody here in the headset, everybody that's related, we're all one person. But you know, if you can bring one person with you next time you go to the racetrack, just do it. Bring somebody. Say, hey, this is cool. It's sometimes it's a bit of a, you know, got to work into it. It's a bit of an adjustment. Not everybody's going to be fascinated watching cars do more caution laps than green laps, but still, we need people at the racetrack.
Yeah, I totally agree. And a couple things along those
young people at the racetrack.
Yeah, a couple things along those lines. First, you mentioned the young people and the Kids Corner, you know, program and initiatives that they're going to be running, and you know, the big wheel races, the candy drops, you know, everything related to the kids. I think that's first and foremost, you know, good on his part, realizing, hey man, we don't have a whole lot of kids in the grandstands, and that's the future of the sport. You know, we got to find a way to get them there.
Yeah, that's how I started. You know, I was just like him, growing up in the grandstands. I know you got a bit of a late start to it, but you still kind of grew up in the grandstands. And you know, we need further generations to be as addicted as we. That sounds terrible. Let me try that again. We need the younger people to be as invested into the sport as we are, so we still have a sport to continue to enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, there's several of those stories out there, and if I think one maybe in the dirt world that we can connect is you know, Jake Straka out there at Shady Hill Speedway. I mean, I saw him running around the stands at Illiana for the longest time, you know, wanting to be involved, and you know, here he is doing fairly well out at Shady Hill Speedway. So I mean, that's just one of several examples that we have in our area.
All right. Hey, I'm glad you said got involved, because Billy touched on something, and Jake Straka was at an event this weekend. Both are great ways to get involved in racing. Let's go with Billy first, because he was a guest, obviously. You know, the Crown Vic class, and trying to keep the intro cost down, because good God, it is expensive to race. I know it, you know it, we all know it. I've seen Stan cringe when he has to write even me a check just for like hats or T-shirts or pictures.
Yeah, exactly. It's not cheap, and
but,
to put it in,
keeping the cars affordable and competitive.
Yeah, exactly, and It's something we've touched on in past episodes about the Crown Vic class with Christy Odom. I think we touched on it with her a little bit in the last episode. What that can provide, and those 80s metric Monte Carlos. I mean, they're getting to be very hard to find. So to go to this Crown Vic class to keep the costs down, a good entry point. It's great to see. It's great to see the tracks around here supporting that.
And I was talking to our buddy Robert Schwartz over the weekend. And he was talking about that class and how, not only is it hard to find these 80s G-body chassis, the stock ones, they're falling apart.
Right.
So if you got to run a class with a stock frame, and at some point you're going to shift to more welded patches than you are frame, you got to do something.
Yeah, because that's not safe. And, obviously safety is our first and foremost. Another thing Billy touched on, which I think is great, is just awareness from the local community about racing events and what's going on.
Yeah, you said it. How many times, even while Illiana was still open, didn't that track close 10 years ago?
I feel like every time
I was there 10 days ago.
Yeah, I know. Every time we would go to a car show, like once, especially, like the Scapel show that we would do, we would literally go from the show to the track, and we would see people at the show, and they're like, "Oh man, that track's still there." Well, yeah, because we're going down there in an hour, and it's a couple blocks down the road, so just that awareness. So the advice that he gave everybody that follows racing, whether it's a track page, whether it's a team's post, whether a driver, if they share anything about their racing, their sponsors, get out there, share that, get the word out there. It all helps kind of grow the racing community.
Right. Yeah, and that I was thinking while you were talking to Billy there is, one of the hurdles we have is the echo chamber that we're in. We all like the same pages, we all share the same posts, but it has to get outside of that immediate first level circle. You have to share it to people that aren't fans of the page or part of the fan groups. To show it to somebody who doesn't necessarily follow racing.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. You kind of got to break through that bubble just a little bit. And I feel like when you do that, then you never know. You get to your place of work, or maybe a different circle of friends, and they start asking you about it. Then you kind of know you've kind of broken through that bubble. So definitely great advice for him there, and just some cool stuff he's doing there. The non-winners events that they've got coming up this year really stood out to me as someone who. Race.
I know we would popularize.
I know. I mean, as someone who raced part-time and never really had much success. I mean, you just out there because you love it. Just to have a chance to run for a checkered flag and get your picture taken and all that stuff. I think he understands that as a driver, and he even said so as much that can be big for a guy that's just grinding it out. Just to have that little bit of success and that little bit to hang their hat on.
Yeah, even with our RC racing over the winter, just how much better it made the night if you can pull off an E feature win and bump up just to the D and race with some faster, better than as long as Stan's ahead, some faster cars.
Yeah, faster maybe. I don't know about better. That's all subjective, but Yeah. But yeah, no, that's so great things they got going on. They're kind of taking a page out of, I think, our buddy Tony's playbook over at South Bend and Plymouth Speedway, where no night is a regular night.
Right. There's not a standard night on the schedule,
which is great to see. You mentioned midgets coming there. Obviously, the national tours coming through there. A lot of great things going at the Kankakee County Speedway, and definitely happy to have them on the show and maybe work some of their features in here as well going forward this season.
Yeah.
So with that, race season is fully underway.
Oh yeah, it's not even here before you know it. We're in race season. I was at a racetrack on Sunday.
Yeah, you were.
I just uploaded pictures this morning. So goodacrephotography.com/Plymouth/2023-402 is the date. Yeah, go to my Plymouth page. You can see all the pictures that I got from the I think it was April Fool's 200 Enduro that fooled everybody because we raced it the day after, and thank God they did, because the weather this weekend was ridiculous.
Yeah, we're definitely in that part of the year where the weather's going to be up and down.
Yeah, it was a little brisk at the track, and the infield was a little spongy, but other than that, it was a beautiful day for racing.
Yeah, well, I think
thank God it wasn't Saturday.
Yeah, I know, right? But with all that, I mean, racing's in full swing, and we got a lot of things coming up. Your local racing calendar. So,
this Saturday we got a Night of Destruction at South Bend. We would have had the Lee Hall Memorial at Kankakee, but rain.
Yeah,
go figure.
Yeah, Mother Nature is popping in. I know us on the S4 Motorsports front. There's a Midwest Super Cup Series race at M40 Speedway here in a few weeks that we're eyeing. So it's here, man.
Yep, I think this coming weekend is the last weekend I will have until October where I'm not at a racetrack.
Man, it's going to be a long race season, but man, we're here for it. Not our first rodeo, and we're definitely looking forward to it, and definitely looking forward to seeing everybody out there on the way. Illiana Stock Car Radio here. You can see it on the screen. You can find us at Illiana SCR, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Search that. We are there. We are on Spotify as well as your favorite streaming platforms there. We're still working on getting the Amazon all set up, mainly because I've been lazy and focused on the real.
Not lazy. You've been working on your race car.
I know. Lazy and maybe in terms of the podcast, busy in terms of the real race car and getting that ready to go. Also, GoodAcrePhotography.com. You see it right there. I'd also think S4 Motorsports Marketing, working to get your marketing message out front. We're in it, man. Full swing. Like I said, we got an episode, series of episodes coming up. Looking forward to talking with the guys at the Grundy County Speedway, South Bend Motor Speedway, Plymouth Speedway, and I believe the Shady Hill Speedway. So keep checking the socials for information on those episodes. We hope you enjoyed this episode with Billy Nippenberg Jr. And he can pull that rookie stripe off. That one's out of the way. We look forward to look forward to talking with him and some of his other competitors down the road. So Chris, any parting words before we head out?
Strap in. Here we go.
Yep.
Wait. No, I can do it better. Pull them belts tight one more time.
One more time. That's right. Because boogity, we are going green on the 2023 race season. Thank you all for watching or listening to this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. And until next time, keep going fast and turning left.